Gibbons versus Ogden, a Marshall Court case. So, here's what happened.
Thomas Gibbons, who operated a steamboat ferry on the Hudson River, had an operating license granted to him by Congress.
In 1808, the New York government granted a steamboat company an exclusive license to operate its steamboat ferries on the state's waters. It gave access to the Hudson River, which was between New York and New Jersey. Aaron Ogden,
Aaron!
another steamboat operator, was the recipient of the exclusive grant from New York. This allowed him to create a monopoly of steamboat ferries on the Hudson River.
Now, here's where the conflict begins. When Ogden found out that he had to share waters with Gibbons, he became angry and filed a complaint against Gibbons in the New York court. He said that they needed to stop Gibbons from operating his boats.
Ogden claimed that the monopoly granted by the New York court was legal even though he operated on interstate waters. Gibbons disagreed, arguing that the United States Constitution gave Congress the power to regulate interstate coastal commerce due to the Coastal Commerce Act of 1793.
It's New York's right, Gibbons.
No, Ogden, it's up to Congress.
Gibbons and Ogden took their dispute to the New York court. Gibbons was persistent, but the New York court ruled in favor of Ogden, not once, but twice. Gibbons decided to appeal to the United States Supreme Court in 1824.
Defining commerce became a significant aspect of the court case. The court interpreted the Commerce Clause of the United States Constitution for the first time.
The clause reads, Congress shall have the power to regulate commerce among the several states.
According to the court, the word commerce included not just articles in interstate trade, but also the intercourse among states, including navigation.
The court acknowledged that the Constitution did not expressly grant Congress the power to regulate navigation on interstate waterways. Marshall pointed out that all states were connected by waterways, and commerce would be impossible without navigating them.
Trade would be almost impossible if states had their own rules about commerce with other states. The important purpose of replacing the Articles of Confederation was to rescue the United States from the embarrassing and destructive consequences resulting from the legislation of so many different states, and to place it under the protection of a uniform law. States could not make their own rules for commerce in ways that would interfere with the national government's ability to carry out its power and establish rules.
This meant that the New York's law was in conflict with the Act of 1793, and it was determined unconstitutional. Finally, after a tedious process and multiple hearings, the winner of this case was Thomas Gibbons. Woo! Go Gibbons! We love you, Gibbons! Gibbons, Gibbons, Gibbons. Although Ogden was granted an exclusive license by the state of New York, the federal government overruled that. Gibbons was protected under Congress, and interstate commerce was ruled to be under federal law, not state.
The Gibbons versus Ogden court case set the stage for congressional power over commercial activity when imposing on the jurisdiction of the state. Therefore, any commercial state law could potentially be overturned by Congress if it was somehow connected to interstate commerce. It set the stage for federal government's growth and power in the 20th century. That's a wrap! Narrated by Ashley, Kelsey, Avery, and Jenny.
created using Powtoon.